Hey guys, Tom Mobile back again. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Galaxy Z Fold 3 after using it for 14 days. Let me know you're thinking about getting this phone, or if you already have the Fold and currently watching it on your new phone to get further validations. We'll start off with the size. This is a pretty heavy phone despite it being the lightest Fold yet. You are essentially carrying two phones in one. And it has been about 2 years since it was first released. On the Fold 3 you do have the best experience on the cover screen compared to the previous two versions. The front display is 100% functional. On the original Fold you only get to use a little bit of the front screen. The second and the third Fold basically look exactly the same. The biggest difference is the front display on the Fold 3 also have 120Hz refresh rate compared to the 60Hz refresh rate on the Fold 2. When the phone is closed, you essentially get a 6.2-inch screen display on the front, and basically you can do anything on it just like a regular phone, from messaging to playing games, all on the front cover. And I feel like this is a big advantage over the Z Flip 3. For a big and bulky phone, this is surprisingly easy to handle and use in one hand when the phone is closed. I can reach across the other side pretty easily, so it is very useful for typing with one hand, and even wrap my finger around the whole phone without much effort. I hear people complaining that the front screen is too narrow, which makes it difficult to type with two hands. But my thought process there is, if you have two hands that are free, you might as well just open up the phone and get the full experience. I only find myself using the front screen when my other hand is occupied. The inside screen is 7.6 inches and it is 29% brighter according to Samsung and uses less battery compared to the Fold 2. Ironically, the battery life is 4400 mAh compared to last year's 4500, so it is slightly smaller. So far on a light day I can get up to 15 hours of battery life on this phone, and on a heavier usage day I get anywhere from 10 to 12 hours. So it will last you to the end of the day, and you will need to charge it by the time you go to sleep, but it is not a multi-day battery phone. I feel like for the cost of this phone, they could have done a lot better in terms of adding more battery life. For example, when you look at the Galaxy S21 Ultra, you actually get 5000 mAh battery. And this is probably going to be the common theme you will see with the Fold series along with the Flip. You are not going to get the best value for the money, but you do get the cool factor. If you want the latest and greatest phones with all the best specs and camera, it is a much safer and cheaper option to go with something like the Galaxy S21 Ultra or the iPhone 12 Max. But if you want a unique folding phone that turns into a tablet and fits inside of your pocket, this is the one. It is awesome for media consumption and games when you're looking at the big screen, and it would also cause people to turn their heads when they see this phone as well. It is a great conversation starter and is very fun, cool looking tech. One of the new features that they implemented on this phone is the under display camera. It's supposed to almost disappear when you're watching media, so it does not get in the way. And even in this case, the under display camera isn't even 100% transparent. It is almost more distracting in a way because it is blinking when you're looking at a white screen or watching something that is super bright in the background compared to a standard hole punch. And on top of that, the quality on the camera is really bad. Luckily you do have 4 other better cameras around the phone, so you're not stuck with it. You can still use it for video chat, but I wouldn't go crazy with selfies or anything like that due to the poor quality. And to top it all off, it is only 4 megapixel instead of the 10 megapixel for the punch hole camera. Since this is the first time Samsung is using it on their flagship phone, it is still a little bit early, but it will definitely get better over time with later generations. It does have stereo speakers, which is nice to see. It is great for watching videos or playing games. I do like that they are able to make the phone water resistant, so you don't have to worry about getting it wet while walking in rain or brushing your teeth or while it's in the shower. It would be nice to see dust resistant in it at some point, but water resistant is a big step. Since Samsung canceled the Galaxy Note series this year, they decided to add the S Pen support to the Galaxy Z Fold as well. It does have a stronger screen, so it is able to withstand the new S Pen, but you have to use a specific S Pen just for the Z Fold 3. You cannot use the stylus from any of the previous Notes because you might damage the screen. It's too bad they couldn't find a way to store the stylus in the phone itself, but it could be a big ask since they couldn't fit a bigger battery inside of it. Instead, if you do want the stylus, you have to buy it for 50 bucks. And if you want the stylus and the case together, that's gonna run you about 80 bucks. It does have Gorilla Glass Victus in the front, which is the same as the Galaxy S21. It is super strong, but it is still glass. The phone itself is priced at $1,800, which is $200 cheaper than the Galaxy Fold 2. But with the Fold 3, you are getting stronger glass, 120Hz front display, water resistant, a better processor with the Snapdragon 888. And for another $100, you can double the storage to 512GB, which is still cheaper than the Fold 2. It has 12 gigs of RAM, which don't really blow you away, but the phone itself is super snappy, and I have not experienced any lag or stutter with this phone. It is an absolute beast, and paired with the 120Hz refresh rate, it feels even faster. $1,800 is still super expensive, but at least we are getting a step closer to it being more affordable, and at the same time making substantial improvements and refining the phone. If you enjoy seeing videos like these, please take a moment to like and subscribe. I actually appreciate the silver color on this phone because it has a purplish rainbow tint to it. Kind of remind me of the Galaxy Note 10. Gives it an interesting touch versus just a basic plain boring silver. So at a glance it can look pretty nice, sleek and professional, and under certain lighting it look interesting as well. But it is not a dramatic all colorful phone either, which I do like. I remember the Note 10 was super rainbow fingerprint magnet. There is barely any fingerprint on the back of this phone, which I do like. I wish they could have found a way to make the camera hump more flush, just like the Galaxy Z Flip, but I know it already takes a lot of effort to fit everything into this form factor. The apps are more optimized on this phone than the previous generation. When looking at messages, you can see the preview on the left hand side and the actual messages on the right. Same thing with calendar and Gmail. You can just see the tabs and everything on the left. You can also change back to the basic view on any regular phone as well, but they do have that option if you like seeing the little preview on the left. It is definitely a lot more suitable for multitasking, although ironically most of the time when I use this phone I do find myself using one app at a time, especially if I'm playing games. I prefer to get the full screen experience. Once you start doing the split screen, everything cuts in half, becomes a little bit smaller. I don't know, I've never really found the need to play games and watch YouTube at once. If I want to do that, I can just turn on a TV or even read emails and chat on the side or something. If I have a really pressing email, I can just hop on a computer and use it, and then at the same time have my phone there. It's nice that it can do all these little things, but it's not really 100% practical a lot of the time. I love playing the Pokemon trading card game online on this phone because it is truly made for a tablet experience. You can always sideload it on any other Android phone, but at the same time you're going to be playing on a smaller screen and it's a lot harder to read. Aspect ratios can get a little bit funky with this phone as well, since it is still a newer form factor. Not a lot of apps work with it perfectly. For example, Snapchat, some of the text can get cut off if someone is sending you a picture with a lot of words. And certain games like Pokemon Go, the apps does act a little bit funky in terms of the interaction. Some of the areas are cut off or hard to move around. So you kind of have to play around with some of the aspect ratios. Even though you do have the ability to adjust it, they all don't always work 100% like the way you expect it to. But I expect this to improve over time as folding phones become more common. I like how you can pin the sidebar so that the shortcuts are available at all time. Although I wish it was a little bit easier to find by default. I had to dig around in settings and do some quick research before I was able to locate it. But essentially you have to go into the lab function, scroll down and check off the enable pin tab for it to show up on the sidebar. I think it would have been a little bit easier if they just made that setting in the sidebar itself. But either way, once you finally get that up and going, it is super useful. I didn't think it was going to come in handy. Just having the apps on the side makes it so much faster to switch from app to app without having to hit the recent button. Another thing that I enjoy is the AR function. Although it is not specific to this phone, it is still pretty fun to use. I had a lot of fun confusing my mom with this AR sloth. I also amused myself by using this tablet screen size to bother my fiance. The thing that bothered me most about this phone is probably the crease, and you pretty much notice it every time you open the phone. Sometimes when you're playing games or watching certain contents, it might not be noticeable, but if you are sitting under a light, it does reflect off and it can be a little distracting. The phone is fun to use when it is opened up as a tablet, but it is big and bulky to carry around, and it fell out of my pockets a few times when I was getting inside of my car. And I have a lot of trust issues if I were to go bike riding with this, so I wouldn't even bring it with me. I do have the Galaxy Z Flip with me during the last few weeks as well, and every time I leave my house I would prefer to bring the Flip just because it is smaller and easier to carry around. But when I am at home and on my couch or bed, I would prefer to use the Z Fold for media consumption. The camera on this phone is really good, but it is not the best that Samsung have to offer. For that, you would need to look to the S series. This phone tops off at 25 watt fast charging. It would have been nice to see the 65 watt fast charging just like the OnePlus, which is about half the price. It only have 10 watt wireless charging, which is almost laughable for today's standard. I don't care what anyone says, I will always push for a micro SD slot, and it is still missing from this phone. Don't think it's ever coming back, but it's worth asking. I do like that Samsung made the hinge stronger, and it feels very sturdy and satisfying to open and close. And if you are tired of using the same basic candy bar rectangular phone just like the Galaxy S series or the iPhones, this is a refreshing new take. It costs a little bit more money, but if you can afford it, I think it's worth a try. And best of all, if you are a big Android fan, you definitely get some bragging right over your iPhone counterparts. Years down the line, Apple might eventually push out a folding phone after all the competitors finish experimenting with it, but for now, Samsung got a cool looking device out there, and Apple is just sticking with the safe standard candy bar design. The Fold 3 is for people with money willing to spend and want a tablet experience in their pocket. You can pull it out anytime to play games or watch YouTube. It doesn't necessarily have all the best specs in the world or the greatest camera, but it does give you a good looking new phone that is refreshing, cool, and fun to use. Don't buy this phone if you're looking to get the most value for your money. There are a bunch of other phones that are around the $1,000 mark that have way better specs. I think there is still a market for folding tablet as long as it keeps getting cheaper over time. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Galaxy Z Fold. Thank you for watching and see you guys next time.